got D on the mind.
Yeah, because D's working overtime lately.
And what's ironic is that I really have been putting in overtime lately.
I
So it kind of
know.
makes sense.
That
D is
makes
burnt
sense.
out.
D- Here's D coming back for more. Hey
No re
guys.
no
Monday
recovery time
Blues.
for the D.
Yeah.
I
Stupid. All
haven't,
right.
you know what? I haven't seen D in a long, long time.
Don't say
It's
it
been
out
too
loud. They'll think
long.
I'm not showing up to work. See, it goes both ways on this. That D goes both ways. On that note, welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers who talk movies, television, and can't get D out of their mouths. I'm your host. God damn.
I'm not your host. I'm in love with a mannequin.
He's got the shippo,
Okay, this is not good now because I thought we were all changing it to Dan. So now I'm just the only one who's gonna have what Dan's having, I guess. Oh, it should be D. I'll have what
Yes.
D's having. Oh, okay, it's too late now.
That's too late, but lay up. All right. In this week's episode, which you cannot tell at all by your names, it's going to be about 80s rom coms. So this was Marie's idea for this episode. She saw us and said, "You guys are old as shit, so let's do 80s."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
I'm so much younger than all you guys. Your D is so old.
First, we're gonna hit you with a current event.
So there's going to be an Evil Dead spinoff, which is weird to say because I feel like the last one was kind of like a spinoff in a way. But
Hmm.
anyway, they refer to it as a spinoff. Um, and it's going to be directed by Sebastian Vanacek, known for this movie called Infested. Well, basically, their idea is they actually want to do more spin-offs of the Evil Dead and kind of have these isolated stories where they're hand selecting directors to take the helm of it. And then if you look at it within like the Evil Dead, it is kind of what they've done. I mean, Sam Raimi, the original Evil Dead, was kind of like a jumping point for like his career, and then we had Fede Alvarez. He did the remake, and his career, kind of started taking off after that. And then we'll see with Lee Cronin what happens with his career. But I think they want to expand that where they'll have like different handpicked directors that are still maybe up and coming earlier in their career to have a chance to put their vision within the Evil Dead universe. What are your thoughts? Marie, we'll start with you because I know you have your very passionate Evil Dead opinions.
Yes, I want to go get my pillow and cuddle it while I talk about it. I'm sure, bring it. It's hit or miss with the my new Evil Dead movie Love and Hate. Like I love the remake, love, 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 and I hate the Evil Dead Rise. So I sure bring me more. I need a palate cleanser after the last one. So I want to see what other directors can do. I think it's awesome. Like I want so many directors to take a stab at this, a chainsaw at this, a severed hand at this.
An eyeball.
Guillermo del Toro, let's see what he can do with
Oh,
it.
that'd be so good.
Yeah, that
Imagine.
Guillermo, that up and coming director, needs to like
Oh,
jump
I
in
didn't.
there.
Oh, is it only up and coming directors? It can
I
seasoned
mean, that,
directors do it?
kind of been like the pattern if you look at the people
Yeah.
that have like taken the helm. Usually they're early in their career and then they kind of it has served
Uh,
as a jumping point. And I know
mm,
Sam Raimi is still gonna be kind of overlooking everything as like a producer. So I think he's gonna
mhm.
be selecting these directors to put their vision to it. What are your thoughts, Dan?
So the Evil Dead, it's so when they did the original Evil Dead, it was more about the lore and really the lore and the story that they're establishing on these deadites and everything else. Then once they had Ash, he became Evil Dead, right? Because then they had Army of Darkness. His character was so powerful, like, okay, this is Evil Dead. They've obviously ventured off now and have done other things, and that's why I think is what's lacking so much is because I love the remake and I don't have any regrets at all if they made that. I love it. I love that that's the direction that they went in because they went more evil with it. So if that's the direction that they're going, where they're going to keep following that trend, cool. But a lot of Evil Dead was like the comedy version of horror. and you can't really do that if you don't cast a good enough person that's like a Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of, I love Evil Dead. I love the franchise. Obviously, we've talked about enough on this. I just don't know. Like the last movie was just they just went in a different direction with it, and it just didn't really feel like it's Evil Dead. So the fact that we're getting these spin-offs, I don't know if we're gonna keep getting it. It seems like the fact that they nailed the remake and then they did another one. So like in our opinion, they're batting like 50-50 right now. I don't have a lot of confidence that they're gonna be able to keep doing it right. So yeah.
Cool.
Will I
Yeah.
watch it?
You're
Yes, but I'm not.
Oh, you're being the negative Nancy today. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I want to see it. I hated last time, but do
I'm
it.
wearing the
Usually
negative
it's
pants. Yeah,
reversed.
negative pants.
Oh,
I'm negative pants Nancy.
I'm wearing the positive pants. I mean, we're not wearing pants, guys. Remember, that's our
Yes.
lore is that we don't wear pants.
There you go. We're just wearing them around our ankles.
Well, I think it will come down to whoever gets chosen as a director and what their vision is. It does seem, like you mentioned, the original series ended up just becoming Ash, and that was the focus. And it seems like with the remake and with the last one, they're trying to put more focus on the book and the Deadites, and just expanding it as in, this isn't an isolated incident like this. There's multiple stories in different parts of the world that can be told, and they kind of taking that angle with putting the focus on the book itself and the evil itself, which makes sense. It's called Evil Dead, not Ash Dead or Evil Ash or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
evil. Blood.
And this is my question to you guys. It's like in what we've seen in the Ash movies, right? And what they've established prior to this new last one, okay? What's really in the book that really requires 10 more movies or a huge mini? They didn't really show us too much that really requires it, other than we're giving you more Deadites. It's like, do
Yeah.
I need more of that? And now you're just going to be creating a bunch of lore that you're now creating. It's not like you set up things that was referenced in the book where it's like, man, that would have been cool to see. Like, you know how like Stranger Things season one, remember at the very end they did that upside down and you saw like that giant spider thing that they're gonna have to fight. They set things up where you knew that the world was more expansive. It feels like with this one now, it's like, well, now we're just making stuff up.
I mean,
Mm.
but that is true. But the positive of that, of them not diving deep and revealing all these secrets of the book, is I feel it does open it up because there's so much unknown. So now you can get creative with the directions you get through, because there's room there to plug things in because you didn't preset things up. So in that part, it can be a positive.
I mean, they did a whole series about it, and they managed to get enough material to make a series. But I mean, Ash is in it, so that's
That's
something
what I was gonna
different.
say.
But
It's
Yeah.
Ash that
yeah,
carried a lot of
it's
that stuff.
Ash's
I'm like,
story. If it's separate stories, it's kind of hard to like. How do you expand on that? How does it grow? What else can you
yes.
say? And are you
And
going to
that's
introduce stuff that is like not part of the actual lore? And it's just yeah, it's kind of
See, and that's what I mean. And that's what I wanted to ask you, Marie, because then it's like when you had the series, you had Ash that was carrying you through, and the series became Ash. How does he react to these type of things, right? So even him getting dragged into Army of Darkness, that wasn't referenced in any of the movies, but we just believe it because Ash is there, right? He
hmm.
sells it, and that's the power of Bruce Campbell. Removing him of this, you're now introducing things into the world of what we're watching, but we don't have that same central character or piece that's consistent as the other ones. So now you're just making stuff up, and if you don't do it well, it's just like, where the hell did you go with? Like, how is this Evil Dead? There could be a lot of moments like that where you're like, I don't see how this is Evil Dead outside of Deadites, and then you're showing me the book that I've recognized. You see what I'm saying? You can run into that if you don't do it well.
I guess there's like so much of the Necronomicon maybe we don't know about. Maybe there's more recordings out there. Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe we'll see some like French Deadites or something. Some like Japanese Deadites. Like, wouldn't it be fun to see like different things around the world? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, the book looks like it's maybe a couple hundred pages long. We've seen maybe like seven
Yeah.
pages.
Is there an audiobook version of it?
Yeah. Can I get this on
Yeah.
Audible so I
Yeah.
can listen to it?
Ooh, Will
Yeah.
Wheaton. He's the
Yeah.
one that reads it. Let's get into our main
Oh my
topic
God.
then. So we really wanted to touch on 80s specifically. So we're not going to talk about 90s. We're definitely not talking about 2000s, just 80s rom com, because there was something special about the 80s, right? The 80s was just magical time that you could be as cheesy as possible, but that's what was so great about the 80s. It was so unbelievably optimistic and hopeful. Something that this world could use now that we had no, we don't get none of this anymore. But what was it about the 80s that was so magical to you guys? So Marie, we can start off with you.
Oh, well, we were all born, so
Yeah.
Holla.
That's
okay,
it. Argument over.
done.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just when you watch movies from the 80s and you think like, God, that was a simpler time. God, people were just having fun. And God, they were like kids were out living their lives. Like it was just like, people will never, kids, you guys these days will never know the pure bliss, just your parents not knowing where you were. And you don't have a cell phone. You can't contact them. It's just like, it's all a
Or
mystery.
or the ability to make offensive jokes and people didn't get offended.
Well, I want to
Those were
say
nice
that, but
jokes.
you can say, yeah, it was such a good time. It could be so mean.
Yeah.
It was allowed.
It kind of like the 90s, especially when it came to media content, movies, things like that. It didn't take itself so serious. Like, yeah, you had some serious content out there, but then you had a lot of content that was just meant to be fun and not to be, overthought or anything like that. Nowadays we get a lot of content that if where fun isn't enough. If there isn't like a deeper meaning, if there isn't
Yeah.
something where you have to pull out a whiteboard and newspaper clippings and create a diagram to find all the patterns and the meaning of life in it, then it's not good enough these days. While back then you can pretty much throw any premise out there and be like, "We're gonna have fun. Just strap on this ride." Okay, don't even strap on. Let's just see what happens, type stuff. And you get a lot more of that in the 80s and the 90s.
And what was great about it too is like you hear the dialogue, and even when you watch them now, you think, "Oh, that's so cheesy. Like no one would ever say that." But I don't care. I loved it. If you ever said it out loud to another person, you would feel like a fool. But in this movie, in this magical world, everything works out perfectly. So,
And this is what sticks. Like if you think about movies 80s, 90s, and compare it to now. What movies was it easier to remember lines from, like certain
Yeah.
key lines and quotables? I can still remember some quotes from those old movies, as ridiculous as some of those quotes are, but I don't not as many stick with me in
mhm,
modern movies, even if they're great movies.
mhm,
But sometimes you need those cheesy lines to make them memorable.
yeah.
See? This is why we need more Evil Dead movies. We need some like I don't it's like just cheesy and I don't care and let's just watch it and have some retro 80s flair in it. See?
I agree.
No deeper meaning.
No deeper meaning. All right, so let's get into some of our favorite 80s rom-coms.
Yeah, yeah.
So, who wants to
Mm.
start us off? Jose, you want to go first?
I'll start us. So I'm going to give the premise, and then you guys can let me know what movie you think it is. This. So, uh, movie is just wait, what do I have here? Okay, sorry, I went to the wrong part. Okay,
You went to the
here we
Evil
go.
Dead.
So let me give you guys the premise and then you let me know what movie you think it is. So, a young woman in the middle of her vacation meets a dance instructor who she falls for. Her father doesn't approve, but that doesn't stop her.
Can I read mine? That's the
That's Ferris Bueller.
Got it, Dan.
Yeah.
Hey,
Or it seems like Marie had the same choice for this one. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, it was the first one that popped in my head right away when I was like, okay, let me think of some of the 80s rom-coms that I liked. Uh, the movie is just memorable from the lines of which we just discussed on those lines that kind of stick with you over time. But lines like the famous, nobody puts baby in the corner. You know, even people who were born way after that movie came out, a lot of them know that line. They recognize, okay, whether it's through memes or viral videos, they recognize that comes from that movie. Um, and that's that has the dance aspect of that song, like the final move with the lift, and you have the music play. That has been replicated so many times in other movies, in TV shows, in commercials, in
In Kevin
skits.
Lyon's short film.
Yeah, yeah. So it has stood the test of time. So even if people don't remember the concept of that movie, they remember the lines, they remember that dance move. And then, you know, the song, Time of My Life, that was created for that movie. It's not one of those songs that already existed and they're like, hey, let's add this to the movie. That was made for the movie and blew up, and that song itself is used in how many projects that you see out there. So that's why this was a obvious choice for me, because there's so many elements of it that have just stood the test of time, uh, memorable across different generations, and Patrick freaking Swayze. Like, come
Mhm.
on.
Dude, you hit a good point about 80s rom-coms, 80s comedy, but usually 80s rom-coms. They were a good launching point for a lot of songs, like songs that blew up and were made specifically for those movies. But it's like you had to have a strong one. You have some movies like Saint Elmo's Fire where the song itself became more popular than the movie, right? So it's fascinating that they work so cohesively that you would essentially they were like music videos, and even when you would watch the music video of the song, they used clips of the movie. So it was like all marketing and how everything was tied together. Brilliant.
Dirty Dancing. I've watched that. I've probably seen that movie, I don't know, 60 times. I watched it
Oof.
when I was way too young, all the time at my grandma's house. And right when that Ronette song at the beginning kicks in, like you got me. Like I love the Ronettes. That whole soundtrack is incredible. Patrick Swayze singing She's Like the Wind, Hungry
Mhm.
Eyes. Oh my God. Yes.
You sound like you were hungry.
My eyes were, that's for sure.
My stomach, not
Yeah,
so much, but the eyes, yes.
no, the eyes are, yeah, starving. Yeah, I carried a watermelon is also a good quote from that movie. I know that movie like verbatim. It's a classic and so good. And yeah, I don't need to read mine that I had for that, right? Like my synopsis because we guessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
this is
okay,
one
good.
of yours. You just gave your thoughts.
Oh yeah, it's one of mine.
Oh, it's so good. I think every year there's at least a piece of content that I see that includes either that song or that dance in it.
And what's great about Patrick Swayze, which we freaking love Patrick Swayze, but it's the wide range of movies that he did, right? He could do this, he could do Roadhouse, and he could do Tu Wong Fu. That's why I
Yeah.
think Tu Wong Fu was so awesome, was because they
And the
casted
ghost.
him, the Wesley Snipes, and then Ghost, but you casted your action hero guys into these roles and you played with that, which was awesome. But you don't get the Swayze lore without Dirty Dancing. Like you needed that
Oh,
character in his repertoire. You know what I mean? He needed
yeah.
that. And that movie is exactly why it made that girl a huge actress at the time. I know she ended up, she kind of stopped doing a little bit for a while. I think she stopped, but
Mhm.
she was phenomenal in that. She was phenomenal in Ferris Bueller. So I get
Yeah.
it, man. Great movie. When I had this question that, you guys posed, your favorite 80s rom-com, there was a lot of 80s comedies that I loved that had romance involved in it. And some of them were listed under rom-coms, but I didn't count them as rom-coms because it's very specific to the 80s rom-coms. These have to hit that certain type of categories, right? So Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I Love You. That's not a real rom-com, right? It's more of a high school comedy that deals with kids trying to find love or whatever it is. But that's not in my opinion, that's not the true 80s rom-com, version of that. I
The
love
rom needs to be the focus.
yeah. Ferris Bueller was another one that was really fun, even though there's romance in it and they had under rom-com. That's not a rom-com. This character gets a sample life in America to meet his queen.
Oh, that's my second choice.
Yeah, so Prince Akeem coming to America. I love coming to America. So this one's not your typical traditional 80s rom-com, but it is. The whole movie's centered around him trying to find, romance. But Coming to America, I think, is just one of the greatest comedy movies ever. It's Eddie Murphy at his freaking peak. The guy's phenomenal. He played so many different characters in it. Arsenio Hall's really good in it as like his secondary character, but the jokes that they have in it is so damn clever. The way that they play with racial stereotypes and stuff, like the like the hairspray gleam or whatever they have, and you
The
see,
glow, the glow.
yeah, the
Yeah.
founders that the family, the grandma and the parents that get up and they got like those stains into the couch. So damn good, man. I love Coming to America. It's a movie I go back to many times. I know they had a sequel that I watched, and props to them for trying to come back and doing it decades later. But Coming to America 1, the original one, is so good, and it's proving why Eddie Murphy is one of the greatest comedy actors we've ever seen. How appealing he was, how charismatic he was. It's the smile that he has. It's the way he portrayed Akeem, and you can't go wrong with having Darth Vader in that movie. Of course, he's gonna, Mufasa. Of course, you're gonna have him in the movie
Yeah.
playing the African king. Of course.
I've
That
never
was
seen
actually
it.
no.
You've never seen it?
No, I don't think so. No.
Man.
No. Yeah, that was actually my
Sorry.
my second choice. Is Eddie Murphy at his prime, with a stellar cast around him. So it's not just like him. You have, Arsenio Hall, you mentioned James Earl Jones, Louis Anderson. It's such a stellar cast. And to top it
Samuel L.
off, it's just
Jackson.
yeah, Samuel
Remember?
Jackson. And then that wasn't enough. Eddie Murphy is like, you know what? I'm gonna play multiple people,
Hmm.
he nailed that. This one does lean more towards the comedy than the romance aspect,
Hmm.
although the whole plot line is him looking for romance that sees him for who he is, not, his prince money that he has there. So this is a Nigerian prince that isn't trying to scam you for money. Um, and I remember growing up how much this movie was quoted over and over again, especially like the
Aha.
barbershop scenes.
Aha.
Yeah. His mama called him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
Yeah.
So many quotables in this. Everyone did a great job. It holds up, and you get some really good laughs with the fish out of water concept. I know here we are, like almost like 40 years after this movie came out, and the fish out of water concept has been so overdone. But at that time, uh, it wasn't as overdone, and you get a lot of good laughs from it. So easy one to go. I didn't watch the sequel just because like I enjoyed this movie so much, and like that I felt like it was gonna ruin it for me, and I didn't want that. I didn't. I feel just that single one is good enough for me. I'll live in that world with just that one exist.
When two longtime friends try to venture outside of the friend zone, their relationship will be tested and age-old questions will be answered. Can men and women truly be just friends? Do opposites really attract? Do all women fake it?
Well, do they, Marie? Do they really fake it?
I can't speak for.
The Nightmare on Elm
Can't speak,
Street.
period. Got it. Okay. We're gonna have so many comments on this episode. Well, I'm waiting for the answer.
That's
No,
our,
that's
it's our women's secret. It's one secret we get to keep.
you know.
Yeah. Minnie, just Google it. Just Google it, Minnie.
It's already in his browser history.
You have visited this website
I know.
152 times.
Yes. I think that so when Harry Met Sally is awesome because Billy Crystal has like such his comedy works so well for that movie, and it adds a naturalness to it, right? Where if you were to hear like even just what you read off, sounds like a typical 80's rom-com. It could be very cheesy, very corny, and it easily could have been and probably should have been. But casting, because you get Meg Ryan, who fits the 80's rom-com role, and like that's what she is. It's Billy Crystal that made it different. You know what I mean? He added like a little bit of a cynicalness to that character,
Edge, yeah.
which was
Hmm.
on script, but it wasn't necessarily in the dialogue. Now, in that movie, he ad-libbed a ton. So
Huh?
he added his cynicalness to the character, which made it again believable, but never went too much to the point where he was like an a-hole or unlikable, where girls didn't want to see him succeed, right? So he balanced it, it's his what is it, Mike Wazowski. Like he was able to get that kind of playful little Billy Crystal involved in this that still made him charming.
Yeah, I think one of the things I like about it is that the believability in their chemistry. Like I believe that they were really good friends. And then I believe that there was that little something in there that, escalated into more. So they made their chemistry that they had on screen made that believable. You see sometimes rom-coms and things like that where it's like, "Oh, I don't see it. This feels forced. I don't see like the passion between these two people, or even like I can't really see these people being friends. Never mind more than that. But in this movie, you can see what the movie is trying to sell you, and it's believable.
It's my favorite thing about it. My favorite thing about it is like how realistic it is and how um they it's not like a storybook romance. They go through a lot of stuff together and a lot of heartbreak with other people and together. And they've been through it, but it's a happy ending with even the happy endings like it's not a fairy tale romance. It's not cheesy I don't find the movie cheesy at all. And I like how they are so opposite and it's like you need that. And when I was a kid, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like they shouldn't be together. They're so opposite. But then when you grow up, you're like, oh my God, they two halves of a whole. It's my favorite rom-com ever. And I think everyone should watch it. Everyone, please.
Children included,
It-
5-year-olds,
Yes,
6 month
babies,
old, six
babies,
months. Yeah.
just out of the womb. When Harry Met Sally on screen.
But what's funny is that they really hit on that age-old question of, you can't have, Billy Crystal goes into the whole, spiel when they're in the car together, and you mentioned about how you can't really have a true friendship between a man and a woman because one of them was always going to be attracted to the other no matter what.
Oh, this is getting now. This is getting deep. Who's Google like browser history is this question? Can men and women really be friends? I need answers. That's an answer that we can give in the comments. What do you think? All the boys are going to be like, no, they can't, and the girls will be like, of course they can. It's kind of like a bad movie to say, hey, can men and women really be friends? Because at the end, it's like, no, because they end up together anyway.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. That kind of proves his point that he was saying no, they can't, and she was trying to say yes, they
well,
can, and at the end it proved no, they can't.
what I
for
could say,
them, for
what I could
them,
say, what I can say with certainty is that men and women cannot be friends if you are in a rom-com.
That's true.
that is written fact.
Exactly, especially an 80's one.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we came up with that one for rom-com, this is the one that popped into my head. And I was like, okay. And I kept trying to think of other ones, but I was like, I don't know. This one is one that like I really liked when I was a kid. And I go back to a lot. So I'll say the synopsis, even though you'll probably guess it right away again. Everyone forgot Samantha's birthday during her sister's wedding. I said she tries to navigate a high school party while dealing with her crush, the high school jock. You guys know it? 16 Candles. John
Okay,
Hughes,
yeah. I was like,
directorial
that's gotta
debut.
be
Yeah. So that's one that seems kind of odd that I would love that movie so much as I did, but I just remember watching it a ton as a kid. Nothing against Molly Ringwald at all, but as I got older, I understand more. Oh, now it makes sense why I liked it so much. um Anthony Michael Hall, this was like one of his first kind of introductions and helped him and Molly Ringwald really understand their characters. So that way by the time they did like a Breakfast Club, it made sense more why they were more, into this. John Hughes was already he is like the king of 80's coming of age stories to me and 80's rom-coms. He did so well with it. But then you even have the character Long Duck Dong that's in it. So there's a lot of child like humor that's involved with this that's really slapstick and whatnot. But the way that they captured the embarrassing, the cringe of of a teenager that's trying to navigate through high school while feeling like their family's such an annoyance and like God, they're so embarrassing. You feel that with Molly's. It's such an authentic performance that she gives in the movies. And there's so many memorable lines. There's so many memorable scenes, which I think is so necessary to 80's rom-coms. So there's certain themes that we keep coming up with, right? That we keep saying, oh, well, it has this and it has that. There's a certain look and a feel to 80's rom-coms that's different than any other decade, right? A lot of them have different of their own thing, but the 80's is so unique. 16 Candles is like perfect for what an 80s rom-com is, like an example of that, I think. Not the best example, but it's a example of that. It hits all the little criterias of the things that we come up with. But damn, that movie was so good.
Even like the fashion, like you really like feel like that, like the wardrobe in that one.
Yes,
I haven't seen it in so long that I like
you should. You
having like
need
a
to.
hate. Okay. I really don't remember too much, but I can see some scenes, but I'm like, oh, I can't piece it all together. But I need to rewatch that one.
You
I
should.
don't
I
think I've
think
seen that since I was like a teenager.
I'm telling you,
Yeah, me too.
when you watch it as a kid, it's one of those ones where you get stuff out of it. Then you watch it as a teenager and you see some stuff out of it. And then when you watch it as an adult, you'll appreciate it from a very different point of view on it. And it's one that it's kind of odd that I would be like, that's one of the ones that I've watched so much compared to some of the others. But a lot of the other ones that I was watching, like I said, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, love it. Ferris Bueller, loved it. But those aren't your typical 80s rom-com, so I didn't think those classified as this.
Yeah.
16 Candles did, but it was one of those ones that surprisingly I would go back and watch. But if you go back and watch it, Anthony Michael Hall is so damn good in this scene. Like they even have the scene where, he's like a little dork or whatever, right? So because she feels bad for him, she lets him borrow her underwear. So he goes in the bathroom at the high school party, the high school dance, and has all these kids pay like a quarter to go in the bathroom so that way he can hold it up and basically brag that he like banged her or whatever it was or had her underwear. But it's things like that. We're just like, what the hell? Anthony Michael Hall, I can't stress that enough. In my opinion, that was one of his greatest performances. And he was so
Scenes that you
young.
cannot put into movies now.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you can't. But it was funny, man. That's what I'm saying. You're able to go away with more stuff in the 80s, obviously, and that's what sucks about I mean, the foreign exchange student is named Long Duck Dong. Like you can't do that. It's
No.
offensive, but it was real. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you see a lot of these performances, it feels authentic. And when we watch movies
Mhm.
now and it's so cancel culture, everybody's so afraid of what to say, that's when it almost feels like there's a guard up sometimes because it
Oh,
feels
yeah.
not real. It feels like I'm
Mm-mm.
watching a performance now, or I'm watching somebody whose PR team looked it over. It feels almost like a work email. You know what I mean? Sometimes it
Yeah.
feels like that. Like, here we go
This has
again.
been filtered, and
This has
and,
been
and it's
filtered.
true, and I think that's the part of like a little incident like that. Uh, you can see that happening with like teenagers, especially during that time. But then you have like the, uh, I would say maybe early 2000s rom-coms that came out, uh, and they might have started to take things too far, where it also wasn't feeling real because it was feeling exaggerated, shock
Mm.
for shock value's sake.
Yeah.
Not so much. It was like, okay, teenagers, kids, they'll do some bad stuff. Like, we're not gonna lie here. Like, they'll do some bad stuff, but I'm like, that's to the extreme. So then we went to the extreme, and then then you have this overcompensation where now it's not realistic the other way, where now you're completely eliminating some of that stuff that realistically would occur.
Dude, Ferris Bueller is a perfect example of that. When they're like, okay, this kid did it all in like one school day. Like, how did he go to the Cubs game? How did he go travel here? How did he travel there in downtown? Like, it's physically impossible. And then they have like the whole Macy's parade with all these kids that are out. But like during a school day, like there was all these things that just didn't make any plausible sense at all. But it's just like, just get past that and have fun with it. It was the 80s,
Yeah.
baby. The 80s,
We didn't
baby.
even,
Yeah.
but we didn't even think about like the realism aspect of it. It
Mm-mm.
wasn't like that. It was like, no, this is like a fantasy world. We're watching a
Mm-mm.
fantasy world. We know that. We're 80s babies. It's like, this is not real. It's supposed to be like a fantasy. And yeah, even now it's like they're trying to make it too real. And like you say, there's like a guard up all the time. And it's not free expression. And you can tell everybody's being held back. And you can tell they're like, okay, does this fit all the boxes? And people are coming in like, well, you can't say that. Take that out. You can't do that. Take that out.
Mm-mm.
Make sure you have these characters in there. Make sure this character says this and does this. And it's just not even real art anymore.
No.
80s was art.
It
To
was.
overcome. So yeah, it's like what we touched at the beginning. There was the fun aspect to that movie. Now, especially depending on the type of genre, some people are unwilling to suspend disbelief when it comes to it. Uh, so something like a romantic comedy or regular romance or like dramas or things like that, like everything needs to be on point, but not too realistic that you're offending people in a way. Uh, but it's like, hey, sometimes movies are not realistic. Like, guess what? You know, Tobey Maguire didn't really have spider powers. Like it's
Really?
something, yeah. So sometimes in movies, it's okay to be like, okay, that is real within the world of this movie.
Well, a
Mm.
perfect example is your movie is your your name today. A mannequin. You have
Yeah.
a mannequin that comes alive for God's sakes. No. Believe it. Believe it. It's like, okay. So is there any honorable mention? Let me do that. Let me give you each an honorable mention since one of your choices were
Uh,
stolen.
I guess honorable mention, and the reason I didn't include it in here is because it doesn't hold up. You're watching now, but at the time and even into the 90s, I really liked this movie growing up, which it was The Mannequin. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous
Sam
movie.
Cattrall.
It's not a great movie, and if you watch it now, you'll probably turn it off halfway through because it's just weird. But if at the times, and at that time it was a hit, and I remember liking it growing up. I remember it made me look at mannequins a little different. I'd be, walking into a Sears or a Kmart, and I'd be looking at the mannequins like, "You real?" So,
You
How
go
you
hold the
doing?
mannequin's
How you
hands,
yeah,
doing?
like you be my
you,
girlfriend. You gonna come home
yeah.
with me?
What's up? I'm about to, graduate the third grade if you want to, you know,
Don't you
I'm
look
all
at me with
grown
all
up.
that sass.
Yeah, don't worry, we can get you a new head and arms.
I gotta lend you a hand. It's like, oh, okay, Jose, back
Oh my
then with all,
God.
with the dad jokes.
I guess mine would be Moonstruck, but
I
I
knew
feel
it.
like that
Dan's
one's,
favorite.
yeah, well, I mean, Dan's favorite, yeah. It's a more heavy on the rom than the com. Like it's very
Yeah.
it's more dark com than
It's okay though. It's okay. That
yeah.
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely Moonstruck. It's the rom in that one for me. Give me all that rom in that one. Love it.
What
Because
about you, Dan?
yeah, in my opinion, because it still fits all the criteria. That's why I think it counts. You can't
Mhm.
just always say the typical cheesy, Saint Elmo's Fire, like things like that. Like, you can't go. It doesn't always have to be that. I think
Mhm.
Moonstruck. That's why I went with Coming to America is a little different, but it counts.
Mhm.
How about what is it? Just what is it? Just one of the guys, just one of the boys. I think it was. Did you ever see that one where it was the girl that was in high school and she dresses up like a boy playing like a jock in football, or whatever, but then. Yeah, it
In the
has a little
80s?
romance. Yeah, it has a romance
Yeah,
with the jock, the high school jock guy, whatever, but supposed to be one of the boys, whatever.
I remember the poster for that.
Yeah.
It was her topless holding two football helmets.
So
I
yes,
guess
yep.
while you have
Yeah.
like the other football
Yep.
players around it. I remember the poster.
Yeah, and
I
then they
don't
made
remember much from the movie.
no, and then they made the remake in the 90s. What is it? Just the one with damn, what's her name?
The girl from What's All That?
Yeah.
Amanda Bynes.
Amanda Bynes,
Yeah.
there you go. Then they did a
Yeah.
remake with that one, but the original one was in the 80s, and that was a good one. I like it. It was fun. I have no idea if it holds up. I highly doubt it does, but
I don't remember what happened. I remember the concept. I remember
yeah.
seeing it as a kid, but
You know
and
why?
the poster.
Yes, because I think she had like annoying little brother, and that's the key to these 80s is that you have to have a very good secondary character that has to be very
Yeah.
memorable. You have to have it. So when I mentioned 16 Candles, you had the Anthony Michael Hall and you had Long Duck Dong. So like you have to have memorable secondary characters. It's crucial. They need to be your comedic reliefs, and you need to
Hmm.
nail them, and they're the ones that get memorable big time. Yeah. So all right.
True.
Which speaking of, I mean, we've given our favorite rom-coms, we've given some honorable mention, and we decided, like, you know what? Let's make some rom-com stories for each other. Let's make an 80s rom-com movie for each other. So we're gonna be presenting the premises of the movies that we made.
hmm
Dan, we'll
Yep.
start with
Yeah,
you.
I'll go first.
And give us your 80s rom-coms.
Okay. So I saw these ones as like 80s remakes of classics is how I casted you guys in this. So I'm taking 80s movies, but adding a little bit of a spin that's a little more modern to it, maybe. Kinda ish.
Okay.
So Jose, he falls for a woman with a secret. but there's something fishy about her. After falling in love, he discovers she's a mermaid. The person, the person against you,
Literally something fishy.
yes, the person against you, Jane Goodall and her pack of ravenous animal activists. The title of the movie, Splash, Out to Sea.
There is a
Oh,
movie called Splash. Did
Yeah.
you
damn!
know
I didn't
that?
do a title. I just
Okay,
realized
it's
I
a
didn't do a
remake of it.
title.
Okay, I
Yeah, it's a
see. I
remake
didn't
of
do
the
a
80's
title either.
classic.
A remake of the movie
So
Splash.
it's
Hey, that's
Splash,
not a
but
bad one
yeah.
too.
But
Splash
the
isn't a
bad
bad
guy
one.
is Jane Goodall and her pack of ravenous animal activists because he's hooking up with a fish.
Like, probably keeping her captive, probably.
Exactly, yeah. Let's try to add a little
Oh my
more of a
God.
modern thing. So
Oh yeah.
here's the other one for Marie. Okay, so there's that one. Marie, you, along with your nerd best friend, use a supercomputer to build your ideal person. I said, so you picked Vault Boy from Fallout, the whole local
Oh,
guy. But instead of doing anything of value, you just drink beers, order pizza, and play video games all day. Your biggest villain, the electric company, shut off your power because you're broke and you haven't worked, Marie. The name of the movie, Weird Science, the musical. So it's a musical.
I mean, that really sounded like heaven for a little while. Then
That's what I
it's like,
said.
ah,
So you build this perfect
yeah.
thing, but to you, it's just a video game character, and then you don't really do anything about it. You just sit around and play video games with a video game character.
Man, it sounds like my life now.
I realized I did not make titles for these, so we can figure that out.
Okay.
But uh let's start with you, Marie, for the first one.
Okay. Ooh.
Marie is a former Miss Winnipeg who finds an old tiara backstage during a competition that she's drawn to, and inscribed on it are the words, "You can escape for love, but you can never escape love." As soon as she puts it on, she wakes up in Florida as a completely different person, a few years in the past. In order to get back to um, her home, her time, and her own body, she must find the tiara from the original owner who lives in that town.
Hmm.
However, after meeting and falling for a local man played by John Cusack, is she willing to go back?
Hmm. I'm gonna
Depends.
say
Is
no,
my
she
body
doesn't.
hotter? Am I in a hotter body? Because
You're
and I'm
you're
in
s-
Florida.
you're in a 7-year-old body.
Ugh. With John Cusack.
Yeah. Different
And
times,
Oh,
Marie. Very different times.
it was 80's, you guys. Like
Have you
anything.
not seen
Oh
the
my
movie
God.
Blank Check? That was in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
oh,
We all
Or
know that
big,
kid.
big. I mean, big. Big is kind of.
That's what I'm saying. I saw that one
Man, I'm
too.
staying.
I loved Big, but I was like, I can't put
Me
that in
too.
rom com because it's a child. It's a child in a man's
I
body. Like,
know.
come on, what are we doing here, people?
true.
And she kisses him at the end, knowing. Um, I would stay in Florida over Winnipeg any day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know she's not going back.
I'm not going back.
We have to do it because you had some of those 80s movies that had like the magical aspect to it. So I was like, all right, I want to
Yes.
do something where there's a
I
magical,
saw a little bit
kind of
of Back
like,
to the Future, huh? I felt a little Back to the
yeah,
Future
it
elements.
kind of like the mannequin where there was that, you know, you had that magical aspect of coming like to life and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I had that one. All right. For Dan, Dan is a successful writer returning to his hometown after the end of another short-term relationship. He's never fully connected with any of his exes.
Hmm,
As he drowns his
rough.
sorrows that night, inspiration hits. He begins to write a story revolving around this woman that's everything he's ever wanted in a
Hmm.
woman. He writes for hours before falling asleep on the pages, drink in one hand, pen in the other. He he's woken up by a knock on his door. It's a woman that looks just like the woman he described in his story. He's his new neighbor. The more he talks with her, the more he realized that it is her. Not only is it her, but every time he writes about her, it comes true in real life, and she's unaware. Does he tell her? Does he use his writing to continuously change her? How does he know if she's really falling for him out of her own free will or due to his writing?
It sounds like my Saturday night. That was great, man. I love that.
Yeah,
That was a good
a
one.
little kind of weird science, but
Yeah.
a writing on.
And it also reminded me of what is it? Wait, what is it? That music video? Dun 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 dun
Ta-
dun dun dun. Remember this drawing it and
Yeah.
pulling it out of the pages?
Yeah,
Na-na-na-na.
yeah,
Take
Take on me.
on. Yeah,
Take on me.
yeah.
yeah.
But that was good, man. I liked it. Nice. So
Yeah, that
what
was
would you guys
good.
think I would have done? Do you think I would have continued writing
Well,
and manipulated her?
Hmm.
just as they say, shooters shoot, writers write. You're gonna
That's what,
keep writing.
that's what I do, baby. Writer's right.
I think you would. I think you would.
I think I would
think you
too.
would just. I think you just
Like,
make her.
this is too
Yeah. Well,
perfect. Let's just keep going
but
with it.
I think,
Yeah.
if it was gonna fit into an 80s rom-com, we usually get those like happy endings at the end. I think your character uh chooses to stop at a certain point and then see how she develops if she truly loves him.
And then she starts becoming more aware, maybe, or something like that, like regular
He
society.
Oh
finds
yes,
the
there's got.
he finds the
There's got to
script.
be.
Yeah.
That's the conflict. There's going to be a conflict
Yeah.
in there, and she's gonna. Ooh, Daniel's. She's
Who's
gonna
my
be
wacky
mad.
sidekick? Is it Jose? You're my wacky sidekick?
Oh yeah, I'm the agent, the agent that gets you the
There you
book
go. There
deals.
you go. Yes.
Yeah,
Love it. Good.
cute.
All right. All right, Marie, what you got? What are the stories that are gonna offend us?
Okay, well, this is kind of long, so get snuggly. I'm gonna do the whole movie for you here, okay?
Okay.
Okay, no name. Also, I probably think of one. I
Who's
won't.
this one first? Me or Jose? You're gonna do me first?
Yes, both of
Okay.
you.
Both of us. So it's one
Oh, it's
movie, but
one
we're both.
story. Okay.
Oh God. So it's gonna be we're
Oh.
gonna be lovers in this movie. Got it. So you think that's why we're gonna get offended? Marie,
I don't know. Well, okay,
do you not know our
here we go.
bromance between me and Jose?
Yeah.
Like we're
I
perfectly
know
fine with
that
this.
that's what I thought. I thought that it would be just lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel de Sangre, a high
Hmm.
school English teacher,
Very good name.
falls for the girl. I know, falls for the girls' basketball coach, Jose Ramos. Daniel, attracted to Jose's competitive nature yet gentle
Hmm.
demeanor, woos
Very
Jose and
natural.
wins him over and wins him over by writing him Shakespearean style sonnets.
Yeah.
One
That
day,
is how I won him over.
I know, one day
I
as
have
he
them.
was cleaning up,
There's no
to
story
me.
here. You're just reading our actual story here. You didn't make
No,
this up
just
yet.
no, no, just wait. I know all your story. Wait, it gets more in depth.
Okay.
One day, as he was cleaning after hours, the school janitor, we'll call him Chuck,
Wait.
catches
Why
Daniel.
am I cleaning? Why is the janitor cleaning?
One day, as he was cleaning after hours, this janitor was cleaning after
Oh,
hours.
gotcha. Okay. I thought
The
I was
school
cleaning after hours.
janitor,
Okay.
no, we'll call him Chuck, catches Daniel and Jose mid embrace.
Mm,
Now it's the 80s, so
sexy.
it's a little bit it's a little bit taboo still, right? In the 80s, a little bit.
Sure.
Lifestyle's a little
We live
bit.
in middle
Okay.
America where it's just a bunch of bigots around us, so maybe
Yeah.
they don't like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in the Midwest.
Hmm.
So Chuck, the janitor, who is also in a same gender relationship himself, understands this and designates the janitor's closet as a safe space for Daniel and Jose to be amorous in secret.
Trapped in the
Okay.
closet. R.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly.
Of course. But don't do what R. Kelly does in the closet, please. Okay. But one
Oh my
day
god.
after a student vomits on the science lab's floor during a frog dissection class,
Sawdust.
the principal Kevin Lyons heads to the janitor's closet to get some sawdust to help Chuck clean it up. But coach whistle and poetry books strewn about on the floor. Principal Kevin Lyons catches Daniel and Jose in a mild act of passion. Just mild. It's like a PG movie.
Okay.
Okay, we're
From
still going
handshake.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Principal Lyons explains to the two that their relationship must cease and desist at once because he doesn't want controversy from the school board. Heartbroken, Daniel and Jose try their best to put their romantic feelings on hold and remain friends and colleagues, but nothing more, as painful as it may be.
Yeah. That's the
This,
podcast.
this is until a new exotic art teacher, Jorge Marrero, joins the staff at the school, instantly catching the eye of Principal Lyons, who has a passion for the arts himself. This awakening causes Principal Lyons to confront the school board and express his distaste for the injustice and prejudices
Okay.
around same-gender couples in the workplace. What? Almost done.
Okay.
Unless you want to chime in first.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, so far it seems like everybody's very accepting of this. I don't see who's against it
Yeah.
yet.
Seems like everyone's on the
Yeah.
same mindset.
Yeah, everybody in
Everyone
the
is
Midwest was just waiting to go.
The school board was against it, but it's not about them, it's about the romance.
Okay.
Principal Lyons wins over the hearts of the board and justice is restored to the school. Now the four men and Chuck the janitor can all be in strong and loving relationships for years to come. And because of the bond that they built, one day they will all come together to start a podcast where they can share their passions with others. You see, it may not have been a strong start for this crew of compadres, but it was without a doubt a strong finish.
And in the end, the movie poses the question: can men be friends?
And boy, did it have a strong ending. God damn!
Yeah. Damn.
Catchphrase.
Oh my God. Boys
Can
can't be
men be
friends,
friends?
y'all.
No, they
We learned
can't.
that.
No, they can't.
Those are our 80s rom-coms that we created for each other. The scripts are in process. These movies should be releasing some point between 1983 and 1987. So if you're looking forward to it, make sure you catch them there.
John Cusack is in every single one of our movies.
And no 7-year-olds.
No,
No.
yeah. He plays the role of Jose in Jose's movie. He plays the role of Daniel in Daniel's movie. Plays the role of Marie in that one. So that's it. Plays them all. Multifaceted.
Brilliant.
He's just being like Eddie Murphy. He just plays all the characters. Everyone's John Cusack.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Cusack, you in the closet with yourself.
Thank you for watching another episode of Not a Strong Start. Please like, subscribe, comment, share on the YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. I'm your host. God damn, you can follow me at King_Sangre.
And I'm not your host. I'm in love with a mannequin. And you can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
Yes.
And I'll have what Dan's got, and you can follow me at Marie Plays It All. Can I blow my nose yet?